Welcome to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 Revisited. For this review, I wanted to make it a little special, so I'm actually driving to some of the filming locations, or maybe just one location for the movie, and I'm going to sprinkle those throughout the review. And I'm really excited right now. This is cool. I'm in Atlanta, driving to Covington, Georgia, and the traffic is freaking crazy right now, so I'm trying to pay attention to the road, but yeah. So anyway, enjoy the review. What's up, guys? Welcome to my third revisited review. I've done one for Halloween 6, I've done one for The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, and now we're doing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Before I get into the review, let me explain myself a little bit. My first reviews that I did, or my first franchise I did, was Halloween. I'm not going to go back and re-review all of the Halloween movies again. At least that's not the plan right now. But there are a few entries in the series that I would like to revisit. I do love the series that much, and knowing what I know now, I think I could do more on the review, because I think there's some things that I might have left out, maybe some video footage that I wanted to add in. These are special movies to me, especially quite a few of the sequels. And I think a lot of reviewers can agree with me on this. Every reviewer has that review that they can go back and look at and say, you know what, I wish I could have done a little bit better on that one. So that's where this whole revisited thing comes from. I'm not gonna try to repeat myself. I'm gonna go through Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I'm gonna talk about some choice scenes that I really like, and I'm gonna talk about some things that I really think work for this movie, and maybe why this movie is so misunderstood. But I will say it has garnered somewhat of a cult following. There is a following out there for this movie. Some fans that really love this movie, even fans that might not like the whole Halloween series. This movie is just that different. And to me, I think that eventually it will find its audience, if it hasn't already. Now, before I get into this, this is going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie, I suggest turning this off and then watch the movie, come back, and then watch this review. But the first thing I want to talk about is that the dream sequence at the beginning, the hospital sequence. And speaking of hospital sequence, this is the actual setting of that chase scene. And it's actually a school. It's not an actual hospital. Many people that don't like the movie will probably tell you that this is the best part of the movie. It feels like the Halloween series that we know and love. It's got all the elements of the Halloween series. It's got the stalking, and it's got Michael Myers in his famous jumpsuit. And I agree, I think this scene is one of the best scenes in the movie. It's lit so beautifully, the rain really adds to it. Just everything about this scene really works. But the one complaint that I hear the most is that it's a dream sequence. And most of the time in movies, dream sequences are considered cop-outs. But I want to defend this dream sequence because I think this is actually setting up the character of Laurie. This is actually telling the viewer that this person has been through such a traumatic experience that she is having nightmares of this magnitude that are this intense on a daily basis. And I think that's why Rob Zombie put you through that whole 15-minute ordeal, to show you what Laurie goes through probably a few times a week, to show you what a trauma victim would probably go through. And so really, I think it sets up her character beautifully. Because if you didn't have that scene, then you'd know that she was a trauma victim, but it wouldn't have as much weight to it without that scene. And also, I thought Laurie was one of the most annoying things of the previous movie. And then to take that character and make her one of the most interesting things in the next movie is a huge feat. It really is. And it worked. I found her extremely interesting. I thought her performance was really riveting and really moving in this movie. You could tell that she is somebody that has been fighting a demon. She doesn't seem like the same character as she was in the first movie. In the first movie, she was the girl next door. She liked boys and she wanted to get good grades and all this stuff. In this movie, she's none of those things. This movie, she is a victim of her own mind. And so I think that first scene, if you don't get it, then the rest of the movie will suffer for the viewer. Fortunately for me, I got it. It only made the rest of the movie better. Okay guys, what you see now is downtown Covington, and you can see this is the section where the pumpkin was, and then the next section is where the clock was at the beginning of the movie when she's walking down the street. Really cool. Also, and I just said this earlier, this is a very different Halloween movie. Rob Zombie did not want to make another sequel that was just like, for instance, Halloween 2 from 1981. He added the hospital scene at the beginning as kind of an homage to it, but from there he wanted to make this movie his own, and I found that extremely refreshing. And he made it his own not only in story, but in the way he shot the movie. He used 16mm film. He went with a much grittier, darker tone, even darker than the first movie. And he went so far as to really change Michael Myers as a character. He looks a lot different in this movie. And to me, I remember when I first saw this, this was the most startling thing for me. I had to separate the old Michael Myers from this movie. I almost had to separate the name Halloween from this movie. If this were called something else, if the characters had different names, then I think a lot more people would have gotten it. I found it refreshing because I've had so many Halloween movies that are really the same as the movie before, when you get right down to it. So I found this really refreshing. I guess you could kind of compare this to Jason Goes to Hell, which is a very different movie than the rest of the Friday the 13th. Is it a good movie? No, it's not really, but it is a different movie to throw in if you are tired of the same old Jason hack and slash movie. This one does have all those elements of the previous Halloween movies. You know, you do have Michael stalking victims, but there is also this huge psychological struggle that's also going on aside from that. And one thing that I also think that works for it is there's this constant buildup. You have Michael Myers over here and you have Laurie Strode here. And they are both coming towards each other, and eventually they meet right in the middle. And when they meet, it is really an explosion. It's the culmination of a trauma victim, I guess you could say, revisiting the person that caused her this trauma. And to me, that's interesting. And to defend Scout Taylor Compton a little more, if you look at Jamie Lee Curtis in the original Halloween 2, she's not dealing with these demons like Scout Taylor Compton was dealing with them. Also, Rob Zombie's original remake, the characters were a lot more on the white trash side than I think they are in Halloween 2. It does have those elements, but I think it pulls back a little bit. You do have some more interesting characters, I think, in this movie.
Can't afford the new tits. Can you loan me some bones?
One being the guy that works at the strip club. I found him completely interesting.
They love me like cancer, that's how much they love me. They
You look like that big guy. Oh. The shit off his head. Grandfather, I'm mad, I'm pissed off. Hey, where's my daughter with the cans and blonde hair? And
What are you talking about?
Almost in a comedic way. Now I want to talk about Angel Myers a bit. When I first saw that this movie was coming out and I saw that Rob Zombie was bringing his wife back again, I was kind of put off by it because I don't mind her being in his movies, but when her character passed away in the previous movie, it almost felt like he wanted to just throw her in there for the sake of throwing her in there. But then after I saw the movie, I understood it. She was part of what was plaguing Laurie's mind throughout this movie. Every time Laurie would start to find a bit of sanity, her mother, Angel Myers, would pull her right back into insanity. And I think you had to have a character, a plot element like that in this movie to constantly keep the viewer uneasy and to know that there's always something that's gonna pull her back. After watching this movie so many times, I love the score in this movie, and it's so refreshing that it's not actually the Halloween theme, except for the very end.
Help.
hell?
But it really is just a haunting score at times. And it's really creepy and really effective in its own way. And as you guys know, there are two different cuts of this movie. I actually prefer the theatrical cut, especially the ending. The director's cut does have some really nice character moments, and I think there is a better cut if you combine both of them, but I just don't like the director's cut ending or the third act. To me, I think Rob Zombie went a little too far, and especially making Michael talk, I thought that was a huge mistake. But I thought the theatrical ending with Laurie walking outside with Myers' mask on, it was just really creepy. And if Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is anything, it is really ambiguous, and that's what I like about it. When you get through watching this movie, you can have a discussion with people about it, because one person will take from it something different than another person will, and that's what I like about it. It's not a cut and dry movie. That's especially refreshing for a slasher movie, because most slasher movies are very cut and dry and very predictable. What's up, guys? That is the house. Sheriff Brackett's house right behind me. This is so freaking cool. I am shaking right now, I'm not gonna lie. This is crazy. This house is way out in the boondocks. You can't really see it that well from here. As you can see, there's a gate behind me, so I don't want to be rude and start rushing the gate or anything, but this is crazy. I'm just excited. That freaking Sheriff Brackett's house. Oh my God. And the last thing that I have to talk about, and this is the thing that really kicks this movie over the edge for me. It really just has that emotional punch that I think sets it apart, and that is the scene where Annie dies, played by Danielle Harris. Now, as you know, Danielle Harris, she loves the Halloween franchise. She has been in Halloween 4, Halloween 5, and then these last two Halloween movies. And the way she died in this movie, I thought was much more impactful than the way, even though I know she played a different character, but the way she died in Halloween 6. Danielle Harris wasn't even in Halloween 6. But that scene, especially when Brad Dourif comes in, who plays her father, Sheriff Brackett, this is a scene where the director's cut is definitely the version that you want to watch for that scene, because Brad Dourif just gives such an amazing performance. He breaks down, and watching him fall apart in this scene, it really felt like what a father would go through watching his daughter die before him. And that was something that was just really cool, especially for a horror movie, a low-budget horror movie. But the performance by Brad Dourif is just excellent in that scene. And again, by Scout Taylor Compton. She is the one that is holding Annie in her arms, and she just breaks down. And that scene is just heartbreaking. I'm getting chill bumps just right now talking about it.
Don't leave me, babe.
And that's just another aspect of this movie that I think is just beautiful. And it amazes me that people don't grasp that. But it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It really is. It's just so strong. And it just makes everything that comes after it even more impactful. This really is just a gut-wrenching movie. It's sad, really. And from that moment on, you have a feeling that this is not going to end well at all, no matter what the outcome. So Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 has grown into one of my favorite horror movies outside of Halloween. I really love it, and I'm actually raising my rating to Trapped on an Island. That's how much I love this movie. Every time I watch it, I like it even more. And to those of you that have only seen it once and that hate the movie, that's fine that you hate the movie, but I would ask you, go into it with an open mind and give it a second chance. If you would do that for me, I think you actually might learn to appreciate it a bit more, because I think Rob Zombie did have a vision for this movie. And I think at the end of the day, At least he got to make the Halloween movie that he wanted to make. And before we go, guys, this is just one more look at the clock from the opening of the movie. I just wanted to capture this because the sun was setting and it just looked really gorgeous in Covington, Georgia. So anyway, guys, that is my Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 Revisited. And those of you that have been on my channel for a while and you look back at one of my old reviews, if you would like me to do a revisited review for that, I am all ears. I would actually be happy to do that. And also, guys, make sure you join the Killer Flicks Facebook page. We're having a ball talking horror every day. This week is actually 2015 Horror Week, and we're talking about good horror movies that we like in 2015, or maybe even bad ones.
All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Drumdum out.